Welcome back to a new episode of the Unmasked Project. Today's episode is going to be a little bit special because we are unmasking Layla. My name is Vanessa Duffy. I am the Frisky Flirt. And I have had the honor of actually being on the show with you guys for a while. And if anybody who's a new listener or a longtime listener, they know this is about curiosity, anything from like the E&M world to the sex positive world, relationships, and kind of like everything in between. And now Layla is going on this new journey by herself, managing the show, being a beautiful boss bitch. And we haven't even honestly had the time to catch up. So when she asked me to be on the show, I was like, girl, your social media has actually been so amazing. You have been like unmasking super deep and super vulnerable online, and I absolutely love it. So I was like, can I interview you? I want to get to know how this has been for you, ask you a bunch of questions, and kind of like go from there. And she said yes. So she's in the hot seat. She's in the hot seat now. How are you feeling?
Sweating. And I was telling Vanessa, like when she got here, I'm like, I am so good at being vulnerable when other people are being vulnerable. And I'm like, oh, this is an opportunity to relate. But to just be like vulnerable, just like out of nowhere, I'm a little nervous. But this is what it's all about.
It's absolutely what it's all about. Yeah. So I've got some questions down, some simple ones for just like Layla, all in general, because you've always done such a great job of introducing like amazing guests. I've learned so much from your show, genuinely, and I love it so much. So I think
Thank you.
let's just do like a quick little recap. I want to start off with just like some basics.
Okay. And when you're comfortable.
All right. Ready? Ready? We're going to do some rapid fire. All right. Where are you from?
I am from Atlanta, Georgia. Well, I'm from Woodstock, which is like an hour north of Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I was born in Texas, and I grew up and I was raised on a farm, on a 7-acre farm in Georgia. And we had horses, goats, every animal you could ever imagine.
You had pet horses and goats?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I was a barrel racer. So like I rode in little rodeos when I was little.
No, you didn't.
Yeah. My song, that's when I knew like the gate was opening, is I like to move it. And I was like, let's fucking go. I was badass as a kid.
Dude, hell yeah.
Yeah.
And now you're a Cali girl. Where in California are you?
I'm in South Orange County.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I live now. So I make the trek up here every now and then, but I'll die in South Orange County. I love it.
That's where you live. Wow. Back to Ocean Girl. How long have you been here?
I've been here for 15 years.
Oh, so you're basically like same.
Yeah. I know.
I feel like
honestly.
anybody who has lived in California past a certain point, they're like, I'm from California.
Right.
Ish. I've lived here longer than where I've lived at the original place.
I like to be different.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone asks where I'm from, I'm like, well, I'm from Georgia. I'm different.
So different. Well, you had a journey to get here. So
You're from here.
born and raised. I'm like a unicorn. People are always like, no, where are you from? I'm like, from LA.
Wow.
From LA, yeah.
You want to stay here?
You know, I don't know if I'll retire here. I have such a wanderlust soul and I love traveling. I think it's a good base, but I might wander around. Who knows? I feel like Spain's calling my name. Who knows?
I've only been out of the country one time.
What?
Yeah. I don't like to travel.
Oh, so you'll live and die in Orange County. I guess that clocks. Makes sense.
Yeah, I went to Fiji for our honeymoon, but I don't like airplanes. I throw up on boats. I get claustrophobic. And I don't speak any other languages. And I just like my little comfort zone and I like my little bubble. I've never had a desire to travel.
Yeah. Well, it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
So you said honeymoon. So you're married. How long have you been married?
Cody and I, we've been married for this year. It'll be 10 years.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Happy 10-year.
Thank you.
And you have a couple of munchkins.
I do. I have a 5-year-old girl and a 7-year-old boy. I know, my little babies. Don't do it.
What do you mean don't do it? Don't have kids?
Don't do it.
Well, why? Go on.
What's funny?
Unmasked, dear.
I feel like everyone who has kids thinks that, but no one says it out loud, right? Like my kids are the absolute best things that have ever happened to me. And they're the worst things that have ever happened to me because you have to feed them like 3 times a day. You have to
Wait, you have to feed kids?
Yeah.
They should have included that in the paperwork, honestly.
I never knew. And, you know, when I was little, I'm like, oh, I was born to be a mom. I was put on this earth to be a mom. I can't wait to be a soccer mom and head of PTA. And like, now I'm like, make your own fucking chicken nuggets. I got to scroll on TikTok for an hour, you know, and then they eat snacks and then they have like little opinions and like, and it's wonderful. It's so great. I have to say that. I don't want to get canceled. I love my children more than anything, but it is 10 billion times harder than I ever thought it was going to be. I no longer have the luxury to be spontaneous, ever. Like I had a babysitter, or my kids were going to be at my parents' all weekend. So Cody and I could have the whole weekend. We have a bunch of events to go to. And then at the last minute, my mom's like, oh, like we actually we can't anymore. And I'm like, I guess I have to sell them? I don't, you know what I mean? It's just like things come up all the time.
All the time.
And you're always on the clock when you're a mom. You're always on the clock.
How do you separate that energy and time then? Like when do you have Layla time, kid time, wife time, group time? Like that's a lot. So what are the percentages that you would kind of allocate that seem like a healthy balance? Are you there now or what would you like it to be?
That's a great question. You should have a show. Honestly, I think I put my kids first always. And then I put myself after that. And then I think I put my relationship under that, which has definitely caused problems in the past. And like even currently, like Cody and I will bicker and fight. And he's like, oh, like I need more physical touch. I need more affection. I need more you and me time. But by the time the kids go to bed, it's 8 o'clock and they're all over me all day and need so much of my attention and validation and all these things and homework and dinner. And by the time they're in bed, I'm done.
Exhausted.
And that's Cody's favorite time to go,
My turn.
come here. I'm like, get away from me, you know? So I'm definitely still trying to find that balance. It is nice. Like when they're in school, that's when I have time to edit and do social stuff and things like that.
But even that, though, everything you literally just described is work. So really, is that really you time?
No, I mean, that's a good point. I probably come, because most of my social life, I would say probably half my social life is in LA. I probably come to LA maybe once a month and just kind of like make my rounds with friends. And then I have some local girlfriends that are really amazing. But I went out of my way to be like, I want to make some local girlfriends, which is harder than finding a boyfriend.
It honestly is. Finding friends as an adult, you're just like, you don't just like go to bars and pick up on friends. You know what I mean? Like, you know, maybe
I saw you from across the bar.
You look like you're a good time. We both like Guinness. Yeah. I feel like there was an app at one point where it was like, if you want to
Bumble Friends.
They do have that now. Yeah. Well, I'm like older. So I'm just like Meetup was a thing where you would do like run clubs. And I was like, I don't like run clubs, but like there's beer at the end. We could maybe we can meet over.
Can we just have like TikTok scrolling time with new friends?
Yeah.
Like, those are my favorite friends is when they come over and I don't have to entertain them and we can just coexist.
Yeah. I have a group chat with a couple of my closest friends. We call it body doubling. So we'll like FaceTime each other. So and there was actually like an article that I literally saw a headline for yesterday that was just like friends who show up at a table where it's just like everything that you need to get done.
I've seen
body
that.
double. Yeah.
Can we do that?
Let's do it. With FaceTime, if I just like, I'll like start organizing my closet, they'll start organizing the closet and we'll get like work done. It's actually so extremely efficient.
See, I need accountability buddies, like hard, which is why another reason why I was so sad to lose Brian, because he'll be like, okay, we're meeting at this day, have this done. You know, and nowadays I'm like, I don't know, I'll release an episode when I feel like it. You know,
you need someone to kind of help guide you
ADD?
through that. Yeah, ADD for sure.
You do.
And it's hard, it's helpful. It's great when it comes to like conversations, you can carry 6 conversations at once, but then like coming back to the root of it. So, but I remember coming on the pod with you and Brian, right? It's like you were like the charismatic, deep questions. And a lot of the questions that you would ask just happened to also be on the sheet that he kind of wanted a guy to get towards. So he's very like A-type and organized, which I love.
He's
so
the
that
type
balance.
A. He's the type A girly, and I am the type B friend. Like, don't go look at my van right now. And then Brian doesn't even have like a speck of hair in it. We're so different, but like that's what made it work so well.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
how has the transition been?
It's been hard. You know, I knew for months and months before he had, you know, really made the decision to no longer do the show, that he wasn't where his heart was anymore. And I think that he was getting a little frustrated with himself that we weren't making a lot of money. You know, like there were plenty of months where we were losing money.
Work. Yeah.
It is so much work. And I wish that because we had people on our team, but we were spending more money than we were making. I would continue spending money to do this. You know, like I would do this if I had to spend, you know, $1,000 a month. I would still do it because like I love it.
Well, I'm glad that you do because we love it too. Again, like I said, we have learned so much from this. And it's like the way I've described it to people, because I think there's a decent amount of podcasts out there that go from 0 to 1 in terms of like the curiosity. Like mine is very 0 to 1, where it's like people like intro questions. How do I enter? What I love about this podcast is that you really kind of do the 1 to 10. And I think people who are already in lifestyle, for example, that's just the umbrella that I kind of fall under. You go into like the nuances, which I think is incredibly rare, specific circumstances. What do you do in those moments? Once you've already gotten through compersion and gaining, there's always so many ups and downs, and then like how you continue to kind of go from there.
Yeah.
Which I think it's things that people need to hear because they don't always feel comfortable talking to each other about it. And so this initiates a conversation, and I'm always super grateful for that.
Thank you. I'm just so over people acting like they have it all together. And especially when it comes to lifestyle. And they're just like, yeah, like love is love. And like, I don't get jealous. And like, but behind closed doors, like we're fighting on the way home from the sex party, like no one's seeing that. They're just seeing us like loving each other.
Yeah.
But everyone has obstacles, whether it's lifestyle or something else. But I'm just so tired of everyone pretending like the world isn't fucking on fire right now.
And I think that's what I've loved about the social media content that you've been putting out more, because it's complete raw vulnerability in different areas and aspects of your life. So like seeing the mix and the transition that it's been going to, like what kind of a container do you want the show to go into now?
It will absolutely still continue to have a lifestyle focus because that's me. I've had a polyamorous heart my whole life, and I love deeply, and I'm very sexual, and I love my friends, and I'm loud and proud about who I am. So it's definitely still going to have that piece, but I also want to talk more about mental health and talk more about things that people are too scared to talk about. Like Cody and I, we just did an episode, and he was talking about like he's had feelings growing up that he was like, am I gay? Are people going to think I'm gay? Like something as simple as that. And we got flooded with DMs being like, oh my God, like I totally relate. So I was about to say, I'm trying to find a balance between like, not disclosing too much but I disclose everything. I really do. Like what you see is what you get. I know Vanessa.
You've been like that from the beginning, and I love it.
And that's why I love lifestyle too. And we talked about this is I've always felt like I was too much, too big, too loud. And so I made myself small. And it wasn't until I entered this community where I was like,
I can be loud and proud.
Yeah. People like
and
me.
you do. You come in like a firecracker. People love you for it. You only come around like once in a blue moon, but they're like, Layla.
I love it. Like I was never a cool kid. And I know that you relate to that too. And like, I was never the coolest one in the room. I was never the one that people were like, oh my God, it's so good. Like, because I also grew up in AA where it's a little bit more buttoned up, and everyone's like, oh, like, have you read page 417 today? And I can quote it's a little bit more buttoned up.
Yeah.
And so when I'm acting in behaviors that people might consider harmful, and it's not, as long as I'm not hurting myself or somebody else, who fucking cares?
What do you mean harmful? People think you're doing harmful things?
Well, when I first started, telling my friends that I was in AA with 5 years ago that we were doing lifestyle, they're like, well, what about your husband? What about your kids? What about, what people are going to think about you? And like, are you going to drink again? And like, what if you do drugs again? So I think it came from a place of, I think it came from a place of love, but
lack of understanding, I imagine.
That's what it was. And I have no problem educating people, but I also, as soon as I entered lifestyle, that's when I recognized, oh, my friends aren't actually the types of friends that I want.
Yeah.
I still love them, and I love them from afar, but those aren't my people.
Sometimes everybody doesn't necessarily grow with you. And I think that's such a hard thing, like that people don't talk about. It's like friendship breakups are a little devastating. It doesn't mean that you can't keep in touch with them, but sometimes you outgrow each other and you're like, hey, listen, like leaning a little bit more this way. If you're not comfortable rolling with it, we'll do like lunches once in a blue moon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The worst heartbreak I ever had was like my best friend. She was the maid of honor in my wedding. I was matron of honor in her wedding. We literally grew up in AA together for like over 10 years. And, when she started having a family, she moved further away. And when I explained to her that we were, Cody and I were polyamorous, she was very timid and then didn't talk to me anymore.
Wow.
And it was very quick. And then, years go by and her husband works with my husband. So like we would see each other at events. And even to this day, if we're at a work event, I used to still keep myself small in front of my old group of friends for work events for years. Even in lifestyle, I still kept myself small. And we went to a holiday party this year. And I told Cody on the drive there, I went, you know what? I'm not going to be small today. Fuck it. I'm just gonna like, and I wore a sexy dress and I walked in there and I was like, I don't care. And people, I mean, and I could see the discomfort. I see their discomfort for sure.
That sounds like a them problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't care.
You go in loud and proud.
Yeah.
What with that in mind, like, what do you think people usually misunderstand about you?
I think, and this is me unmasking and getting like super ultra vulnerable, but I think something that people misunderstand about me is that I do struggle very heavily with mental health still, like hard. And I have PMDD, which is the premenstrual dysphoric disorder. So like a week before my period, I'm a total cunt. And like I live in a reality that is just not real, but to me it is. So I have been trying to find a diagnosis for myself for basically my whole life. So that way I can be like, okay, that's it. That's the thing. That's my problem. So now people are not going to be like, Layla, you're just looking for something that isn't there. And I'm like, okay, I'll go on TikTok rabbit holes. I'm like, am I having seizures? Am I bipolar? Am I, is it OCD? So I go down these rabbit holes of mental health. And I think that I make myself sicker by doing that. So I think what people misunderstand is that like I've got it all figured out and that my mental health is great. And I'm just like, la, 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 la. And I'm also very much, I need to recharge. I love being alone. I love being by myself.
Is that how you find, like, you ground yourself?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have to.
Which is what you seem like such a natural extrovert. So
I do.
you lean a little bit more, so introverted, extrovert.
Yeah, 100%. So like I have a bunch of stuff going on this weekend and then I don't want anyone to talk to me for a week. Like I will be
Listen, you understand yourself though.
I do. But then I'll feel bad because then my husband's like, can I have some love? And I'm like, no, I was at an event.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah,
listen, I need time to eat.
Yeah.
What are the things that you do in your alone time to help you recharge?
Ooh, I love drawing. So I got into like drawing, sketching.
Artsy.
Yeah, colored pencils I've gotten really into in the last like 4 or 5 months. And before that, I couldn't even draw a stick figure. But I went on Amazon and this is something I saw on like a YouTube video. If you can understand human anatomy and animal anatomy, you can draw anything. And I was like, okay, I will see. And now I'm like, I love, insert some pictures here. But I'm very much inspired by like Tim Burton and Adult Swim.
Ooh, oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm. So like I make weird monsters.
Quirky, yeah. Because then there's almost like an imperfect perfectness to them. You know what I mean? It's like their own kind of creature, which sounds a lot like you. You're like, I'm a little quirky, a little bit perfect.
I'm a little quirky.
Self-portraits. Have you done a self-portrait?
No.
That should be your homework assignment. Okay. What would a self-portrait look like? And then
my God.
That's what you add in here.
No, that's hilarious.
Really?
I will. I'll do it. Your boobs look so good.
Thank you so much.
Are you wearing a push-up bra? Is that just like how you are?
It's like I usually don't wear bras at all. And now I'm like, I have the actual bra in.
God.
So going back to the question of what direction do you want the Unmasked Project to be? Is it general vulnerability, still under the umbrella of E&M, or like are you sprinkling a bit more? It's almost like therapy sessions, actually. Mm-hmm. You're kind of like doing therapy with people as they're here, in addition to like educating and making it topical and things like that.
Yeah, and it's therapy for me too.
Yeah,
you know, like I would do this even if there weren't cameras. Like I just love having vulnerable conversations with people because I don't care what you do for work unless it's something that excites you. If I hear one more time, oh, wow, great weather we're having today, I'm going to fucking die.
You're given 1 hour at some of these events to be like, make friends, figure out if you want to vibe with them or not.
Yeah. I'm like, tell me your traumas. Like, tell me like what excites you. Like, what are you scared of? That's what I want to know. I want you to unmask. Don't show me the robot that you're putting on in front of other people. Mm-hmm. And I think it naturally kind of progressed into that kind of vibe with the Unmasked Project because like we quite literally masked because we were afraid of who we were. And it was, I don't know if I was, I guess, a little embarrassed because of how hard my old friends judged me for it. And I assumed that everybody else was going to judge me for it. And I get hate comments all the time. Like that doesn't bother me, but don't do it, please. But like I'm way more have had people reach out and been like, thank you so much. Like, I feel like, you know, like I just told my parents that we're polyamorous and whatever. So in regard to like how, like where I want it to go, I'm not sure if I do want to continue doing podcasts, but now I'm like, maybe some live shows or
Ooh.
maybe like,
You have had a whirlwind of experience. I could actually see that you on stage talking about your journeys and being a bit of an expert in that field,
I just
truly.
put me on a stage, give me a
You,
spotlight,
you're so great.
give me a microphone.
Which is amazing that you had the capability to shrink yourself. So it's like, that's even extra. The fact that you naturally shine and you're just like,
Oh, I had to force it.
Containing it.
Like I wasn't being small on purpose. I wasn't like, oh, I'm just like a small little, I was like, okay, like hold it back. I was constantly reminding myself, like, hold it back, you know? But like when I'm on stage and on cameras and stuff like that, like usually they're telling people, okay, give me more energy, you know? And if anything, they're like, okay, you're screaming into the microphone. chill. Just relax. But very rarely, usually they're like, hell yeah.
Yeah. Plus you pour your heart and soul into so many things. Is that why you think when you talk to people and they're strangers, you want to go like immediately deep because you know that you're naturally going to do that?
Yeah. I think that I have a way of getting people to open up without them knowing that they're opening up. And I was talking to my therapist about this on Tuesday. I was like, am I manipulative? And I'm like, am I a narcissist? And am I manipulative? But also narcissists never consider that they're narcissists, which made me feel a lot better.
You're like, nice.
Thank God. But I also use a lot of manipulation for like what I do for work. Like, because I do substance abuse interventions. And I have to use manipulation constantly. And I have to shapeshift into the type of person I believe that they need to hear from and that they need to talk to. So if I'm talking to like a Jersey mom, I'm like, all right, bitch, okay, this is what you got to do, you know? But if I'm talking to, you know, a young woman, like young women with eating disorders that I've worked with, they all want softness. They all want softness and love. And it always takes them 6 times longer than my substance abuse clients. I know what people need. And I look at someone, I go like, I know who you are, you know? And that might be ego.
Really?
I might be wrong. I might be right.
Or just personal experience, having gone through so much, especially so many characters who have gone through quite a lot in their life. When did you realize that you have that skill set to be able to people read?
I mean, it's a trauma response.
Trauma response from what? Should we go deep?
Oh, man.
Unmask Layla.
Oh man. I had very strict parents, insanely strict. And I knew that I had to, and they both have very much narcissistic traits. Mom, if you're listening, I'm sorry. I still love you. But some narcissistic traits. And I've learned that when I was younger, I had to manipulate in order to get anything I wanted.
Interesting.
Whether that was going out with a friend or, driving the car or literally anything, I had to feel where my mom was at. Okay, so you're in a good mood. So I can be like, hey, you look great. If she's in a bad mood, I'm like, I'm having a bad day, Mom. Because when she's taking care of me, she feels better. And then I can get what I want.
Oh, everyone kind of goes through their own version of that survival. Like I remember being very people-pleasy, similar situation with my mom. She has like narcissistic tendencies. I don't think she'll ever see any of us, but she does.
Sorry, ma'am.
We've had some conversations about this. But my version of being able to find safety was me consoling her emotions. So I was never really allowed to have my own emotions. It would always be like, if I brought something else, it would kind of be the typical like, well, I just must be a bad mother, or I can't do this, or I can't do that. So it was like, I was never allowed to have feelings. And then I would, it would kind of reverse, right? Where it would just be like, oh yeah, no, listen, like if I'm coddling her emotions, making her feel better, whatever that moment is, as like that child, then it's like, okay, then I'd get the support, then I'd get the love, then I'd get that kind of safety. It was a pattern that was actually a little bit destructive in adulthood, just consistently prioritizing other people's feelings, putting myself aside, the same way that you'd put yourself in a box, that I'd kind of do something similar in the feelings way. So it took a lot for me to kind of grow and learn to actually feel my feelings. It'd be like a little bit of numbness. If something would be like triggering or whatever it was, instead of discussing it, just like numbness.
What'd you do to combat that?
Well, now I self-soothe. Self-soothing was quite a journey to get to, which is kind of the funniest thing to think of. I remember crying the first few times that I did. And all I did was sit in the shower, me being like underwater in a state of, a body of water. It's very calm and soothing.
It doesn't count if you're underwater. Like if you're not really crying if there's water on you already.
Maybe that's what it is. I'm like, I was just acting like I was trying. But, and then I would just picture myself as like future self hugging little me and just being like there. Yes. That would just bring me to tears every single time. So I couldn't even get to the self, like the reassurance phase for a little while until I kind of like got over that, feeling a little bit safer, feeling a little bit more comfortable and be like, okay, now that I'm calm, what am I feeling? And then how do I improve that? And now it's kind of like second nature where it just kind of like eases and flows. And I'm able to feel my feelings, take a breather, take a moment to process, and then like immediately adjust.
Did you learn that with a therapist?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dope.
Years and years and years of abuse recovery therapy, talk therapy, experimental.
Have you done EMDR?
No, but I've done IMTT, which is a little bit similar in sort of like systematically breaking down like sense images and things like that felt like it contained too much power.
Okay. Yeah, I did EMDR, and my favorite was I did like a 2-hour EMDR session with mushrooms.
Ooh, I love it when they're adding substances. You know what I mean? Like even MDMA, which absolutely makes sense. You're like rewiring with a positive, optimistic kind of mindset. What is it? I think MAPS was the program where they were helping PTSD warbats and things like that. Are you able to do that with your work at all with people who kind of go through extreme circumstances of recovery?
That's not something that like I necessarily advocate for unless it is like a very particular situation. Like for example, if someone's addicted to opiates like heroin, oxy, whatever, a lot of them will be like, oh, I want to go on Suboxone, which only like it's detoxing from Suboxone is 10 times worse than detoxing from heroin. So it's just delaying the inevitable. But it's so like when someone's new in recovery, that's usually their first question is like, well, can I smoke weed in there? Or like, oh, can I do therapy with mushrooms? Like their intention isn't right yet. So I would recommend that they have a little bit more time sober under their belt, perhaps like work all 12 steps of AA, and then get a year sober. And then after that, do whatever the fuck you want. You know, like I've had girls that I've sponsored, and I say that to every sponsee I've ever had is, okay, if you work all 12 steps of AA to the best of your ability on your year sober, we're going to the bar and you and I will drink. And I will buy you all the alcohol you want and we won't tell anybody. And not one person has taken me up on that offer. They all get their year.
Is that like a trick question? Just like get to this point.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And the fact of the
what
matter—
an interesting tactic. I wouldn't imagine.
Well, and what's crazy is that if they did fully work the 12 steps to the best of their ability and they did anything that they could for their recovery, and if they still wanted to drink—
You're like, we got to start over again.
Honestly. So it's like never going to happen. I'd be like, okay, like let's maybe do step 4 again because something's up here, you know?
How many people have you helped get past to the 12 step?
I have probably 20.
Wow, that's significant.
Yeah.
Have you ever had any terrible scenarios happen?
From sponsoring someone? I've had plenty die.
Oh my God.
Plenty. I think that's the hardest part.
Yeah.
What's funny is that like when I first got sober, my first sponsor told me that my first task was to go buy a black modest dress. And I was like, why? And she's like, cool, don't ask questions because you don't know anything.
Yeah.
And I went and bought the dress and I was like, okay, I have it. And she goes, now that you're in AA, you're going to be going to a lot of funerals or you're going to be buried in it.
Heavy. Wow.
And boy, was she right. I have a funeral I'm going to in a couple of weeks.
Wow.
It's constant, you know, because most people don't stay sober because it's fucking
It's
hard.
Extremely hard.
So hard. And the 12 steps is like, that's straight vulnerability, you know, like doing your sex inventory, writing your list of resentments, making amends to people that you've hurt. Holy God, I was hoping to never see them again.
Inside out, raw. Yeah, you just want to start fresh, but you really can't until you finish shedding that.
You have to clean your side of the street.
Yeah.
And there was plenty of amends that I was like, no, they fucked me over more. But that's not the point. You know, like I would try to justify my bad behaviors. And if I continuously justify my bad behaviors, I'm going to drink again. And I've learned that.
Yeah.
I was the chronic relapser of the group for years. And I experimented. You know, being like, oh, well, maybe I treated the 12 steps like a buffet. I'm like, I'll take a little step 1, step 4, no, thank you. And then I realized.
Just whatever works.
Yeah, whatever works.
My God, a lot of loss. That's traumatizing, especially with what you've gone through. How do you cope and handle situations in which you don't have control of the outcome?
Not well, Vanessa, not well. Medication helps, SSRIs. I, I, uh, I guess my relationship with like a higher power definitely helps, or like a relationship with like the universe, or like, I don't know what's best for me or for other people. And sometimes you have to like let go and let God, which is very cliche. But it's funny because I mentioned page 417. And if anybody's looking for a sign to get sober, go read page 417 in the basic text of Alcoholics Anonymous. You can also find it online. But it talks about how we like to be the directors of the show, but we also like to be the actors. And we also like to do the lighting, you know? And we think we know what's best for us, but sometimes we just fucking don't. And I have to, there's been so many times where I'm like, okay, well, I didn't get this, you know, I didn't get this show, or I didn't get something, and that wasn't God's will.
Yeah.
You know, something as simple as that. I was like kicked out of a Christian school. I grew up, you know, in the Bible Belt, like it's the whole thing. And
why did you get kicked out? Wait, what? Okay, so what happened was
so it was a private Christian school for 7th and 8th grade, and very strict. And we had Bible class every day. They also would do debate in Bible class, which like they're asking for it at that rate. And so more times than not, I would get to the front of the door, and my Bible teacher, who's also the principal's wife, would be like, Layla, why don't you just like sit out here today? I'm like, dope. And it got to a point where it was so bad, she'd look at me and she'd be like, you're going to hell. If you get in a car accident on your way home and you die, you're going to go to hell, simply because I was just asking questions.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And
talk about lack of support.
And I was like, the final straw when she told me that was, I was like, okay, so if like a baby in India is born and they don't have a chance to find Christ and then they die, do they go to hell? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, fuck God.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Yeah.
So I snuck into the office and I told her to go fuck herself over the intercom.
As you should.
As I
Wow. Edgy. We've got the last
Our producers love it. Yeah, it was one of my proudest moments. And my mom came and picked me up and she took me to get ice cream. She was proud of me too.
Hell yeah. Good.
And so then I got to go to public school. Yay! Private school kids are way worse than public school kids.
Oh, I would imagine so.
Yeah.
More money, better drugs. You know what I mean?
Yes, little spoiled brats. Yeah.
I'm sure it's not all of them, but yeah, that's
and my
the
first higher
narrative,
power.
for sure.
So my first higher power in AA, because they said you can find any higher power you want. It could be a doorknob. It could be literally anything that's not yourself. And I went, Britney Spears. So she was my first higher power.
Pre-madness.
Yeah.
I imagine.
Or even in madness. I was like, go off,
She's
queen.
still trying to hold this together.
I relate more to the madness.
Actually, yeah.
So for 3 years, like that would be, you know, when I would get on my knees to pray, I was praying to Britney. Britney, bitch. And I'd put on like, you know, some old Britney songs and light my candles. And I'm like, she has more influence over this world than I do. And then it changed from Britney Spears to like nature. I'm like, I can't make the waves stop. You know, like I don't have that
that's a good
kind
one.
of control. So I would like look at the water. And God to me, or my higher power, changes every couple of years. And as long as I'm willing to believe, which is part of the steps, then I'm going to be okay. I know that I'm not the most important person in this world. And I know that I don't have control over everything, although I try. And today it's like, it's a little crazy actually, and Cody hates this. It's a little nihilistic, but it's like, it's more optimistic than that. I kind of will be like, nothing is real. And so if it's not in front of me, it doesn't exist. And it's way harder for me to describe it, and I won't bore you guys, but what that has helped me with is that like, I don't care what people think about me anymore, because as soon as I leave the room, they don't even exist anymore. It's kind of like if a tree falls in the woods, does it still make a sound type of vibe?
Yeah.
Or like Schrodinger's cat. And since I started kind of believing in that, if I'm like, oh shit, did I say that? That was weird. That was awkward. Oh, like, should I should I, like thinking about,
Self-doubt, questioning yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Going
It
down a
doesn't-
spiral.
it's not real. It doesn't even matter. You know, the only thing that's real is the experience that I'm in that moment.
Yeah.
And it's helped me live in the moment so much more.
I have a similar ish tactic when I used to have self-doubt a bit more consistently. It's this thing where I'd ask myself, I'm like, is it true? And I'd ask myself 3 times. So it's like you go through an experience where you think somebody thinks something about you, especially with judgment, having gone through this lifestyle and kind of dealing with that. I'd be like, okay, if they're like, or even go with the help, you know, for example, or it's just like, well, like, is that true? Would this be the case? And usually you find yourself justifying it the second time around. And you're like, well, like so-and-so and this and that and that. And then you ask yourself again, you're like, is it true? And you're like, okay, yeah, I guess no. You're kind of like rationalizing with yourself and like eliminating your own self-doubt with like whether or not it's true. And so I love doing that. And I've recommended that to a couple of people as well, like lifestyle as well, where they're just like, oh, like if they experience jealousy, it's something that I usually recommend the most, how do you handle jealousy? And I'm like, there's no escaping it at all, but it has so much to do with like your energy level, where you're at, the connection and things like that. And I'm like, if you have a moment with somebody where you're like, oh, is that person better than me? Or is it that? Is it true? Is it true? Is it true? Is it true? And it always is kind of like helpful to kind of like reground myself and be like,
Do you think that's like little Vanessa that's being like, oh, like I'm not good enough and blah, blah. And you're like checking in with little Vanessa when you're asking that?
I sort of think of future Vanessa in my current state. So I think when I'm retrospectively, when it does hit something that's deeper, I'll think about little Vanessa if that's the one being triggered. But if it's something that's a bit more concentrated, where it's like in that moment, where it's like if I'm exhausted or stretched too thin or whatever it is, some things might make me more sensitive than others. And so if I'm in that mindset, I'm like, okay, what would future Vanessa say to this current Vanessa?
Interesting.
So it kind of depends on like what the trigger is and those different things.
So you have future Vanessa, Vanessa now, and then little Vanessa.
Yeah.
That you're like kind of checking in with.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm doing that currently with my therapist. We've been doing it for about a year of checking in with little Layla because little Layla's pissed.
Like, she's pissed now?
Yeah, all the time.
She's so around.
She's scared and she's pissed and she's defensive and she wants to fight back because she didn't really have much of a voice growing up. So now it's like, oh, well, now that I have a voice, I'll show you.
Shout from the rooftops.
Yeah, on the intercom. And this is wild. This was like a month ago. There was a situation when I was younger when I was kind of like trapped in my kitchen. I must have been like 17 years old. And I was telling my parents, they weren't letting me go outside. I don't know. And I was like, I need to go smoke a cigarette or something because I was cool. And it's not cool. And I was like, I just need to go outside. I'm getting claustrophobic. And they were with their bodies blocking the doors. And I'm like, oh, and I'm freaking out. And so I just lit a cigarette in the kitchen, ashing in the sink. And I was like, well, then fuck you.
Yeah.
And my therapist is like, okay, well, how about Layla today goes to rescue little Layla in that situation? And I can put myself there. If I close my eyes and I go into like a trance or a state, I'm there. I see it. I smell it. It's all there. And I couldn't rescue myself. And it was wild because I'm like, okay, let me make myself like just have the thought, make it happen. And the only thing that I could do is the vision I had was that like a SWAT team or like the Marine, I guess, I don't know if it's Marines or Army, would come through the ceiling, break through, and a team of them would grab me and take me up into the helicopter. And what I learned from that is that I still don't trust myself.
Oh.
Which is wild. And also I feel way more validated if it's a group of professionals saying this is bad. Like not hearing it from me, but like a group of professionals. So that's something I'm working on.
Do you not recognize that it was bad in that moment?
In that moment, I must have been like 16, 17 years old. No, I didn't because I thought my parents were always right. And it took me until, I don't know, 4 years ago to learn that my parents are not always right and they're living life for the first time too. And
they all kind of just end up doing the best that they can at that moment. Picturing parents as children based on their emotional capability, which is normally pretty regressive in like a younger state for what it sounds like you've gone through and I've gone through as well. It makes it a little bit more digestible and easier to be able to forgive and move forward and be like, cool, I have to spend my adulthood reparenting myself.
yeah.
And you get out, like every now and then you feel resentment, you know what I mean? You just kind of end up there.
And like they thought they were doing the best job that they could do. And there are
blocker in the kitchen. Interesting. Right. Interesting parenting tactic. Which is also, I recently learned, because I went through this with a session that I did recently where it was like blocking doors was is still a form of like abuse.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And guarding. And I had a partner who I dated a little bit ago who had done that, or was just like blocking from leaving because of his anxiousness and things like that. And then it wasn't until way afterwards, the therapist was like, you know, that's a little bit of a form of abuse, you know, containing you and keeping you in. And I was just like,
that's a hard pill to swallow.
Interesting. Yeah.
And I think like, especially when it comes to my parents, for example, because I'm still so close with my parents. Like I talk to my mom every other day. They live down the street. She's so fun.
Mm-hmm.
I love my parents. And I thought that if I was doing therapy about how certain parts of how they raised me wasn't okay, then I was saying that they're bad and they should feel bad. And I could hear my mom and my dad's voice in my head when I'm talking to my therapist about them. And so I'd find myself being like, but they were great. My therapist is like, I didn't ask. Like that has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
You want to come to their defense.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Why?
Because I think a part of me still wants their approval. And I hate that.
Mm-hmm.
But also like, is that healthy to want someone's approval that you love? I want them to still be proud of me. And I don't want them to feel guilty. That's not the point, you know, which is why some stuff has come up that, you know, was kind of a family secret. And when I figured out what this huge family secret was, that I actually kept a secret for like 10 years, which I can't disclose because it's too much. But I was telling my friends, I was like, I figured this out. And they're like, oh, are you going to like confront your parents about it? And I'm like, no. They're like, why? I'm like, because I don't need it. I was like, it would hurt them more than it would make me feel validated for what, a second? Like they kept this a secret from my brother and I because they thought it was protecting us. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Like maybe that was the right decision. I don't know. So like I don't need that. And all my friends are like, that's wild. That like that I would call my parents right away and be like, I figured it out, you bitches, you know? And I'm like, I don't need it. I feel good.
Wild. I've been actually very, very so. You and I have such similar.
We're very similar.
It's kind of wild. But I remember, you know, being told one thing about like how my dad died as a kid. You know what I mean? And finding out later on where it came from was like, okay, it was like a form of protection of protection, right? When you're that young, you don't know how to explain something like that to a kid. And then finding out more information that was like volunteered from another family member, and I was just like, oh wow, you know. And I considered maybe not confronting my mom in the sense of like, why didn't you tell me, in a defensive sense, but sort of like, I'm sorry you went through that. Right. I can't imagine how to, you know, but she's so guarded that sometimes it depends on, again, I think their emotional capabilities and level, whether or not cracking that shell open would be something that's helpful or isn't, you know? Because I've offered, I was like, hey, do you want to do joint therapy? Do you want to do individual? Like, I'll do joint therapy if you also do individual therapy. So we're not dealing with the things that you don't want to talk about here, you know, separately. I think we talked about it a bunch of times because she had wanted to have a closer relationship. And then at one point she was like, listen, I'm never going to do it. And I was like, okay. I was like, thank you for being honest. And I was like, just so you know, then this is kind of the maximum depth that our relationship will kind of be able to be in.
Why doesn't she want to do it?
I think there's a lot that she has buried that she hasn't been able to address. And she's at the state of her life where she's kind of found her comfortable survival mode. And there isn't necessarily a major reason to rock that boat.
Right.
I don't think she'd be strong enough. So that's what I mean. I relate to kind of what you went through, where it's just like, are you able to or not? You kind of pick and choose the pieces, and it just ends up on us, right? We're just like, okay, then how are we kind of like, it just adds empathy. I think you have empathy, you understand it. And then you're kind of like, okay, cool. Let me heal and move on from this. I don't need their acknowledgement or permission to be able to get through this. Yeah. Because it almost does more harm.
Right. It would cause more harm. It would cause more awkwardness. Like, you know, my parents believed that they were keeping something from my brother and I for so long that if I were to be like, oh, I actually have known since I was 12, I think that would devastate them. Yeah. And so it's just, it's not worth it, you know?
Do you think that there's a correlation between having experienced and grown from all of that and feeling a little bit helpless to now helping other people through their difficult times?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's almost like, but I imagine, is it healing to be able to help other people?
Yeah.
since you weren't able to have that.
It's my favorite kind of high.
Yeah.
It's my favorite drug. Like my favorite is getting those calls at 2 a.m. that like little Johnny's in a ditch with a needle in his arm. I'm like, let's fucking go. Like I love being the big sister that I always needed.
I love that. That's what I was getting at. And I kind of love that. You get to live that every single day, and how wonderful.
Yeah. And I also like, I treat my kids the way I feel like I'm also breaking generational trauma. You know, like I don't blame my parents for their behaviors because they experienced a lot of trauma themselves. And how were they to know that maybe that wasn't the best way? You know, like neither of my parents have ever said, I'm sorry about anything.
Wow.
Anything. And I say I'm sorry to my kids all the time about everything.
Yeah.
You know, because like of course I'll get short with them, or I get overstimulated and I'll like get loud. And then it's so cute nowadays because my kids will be like, Mom, let's take a deep breath together. I'm like, oh my God, you guys are so amazing. But also don't tell me what to do. And then I'll go back up to them and I'll give them a hug. I get on their level and I'm like, I state what my character defects were, because just saying I'm sorry isn't good enough. So I'm like, Mommy was acting out of fear, or Mommy was overstimulated, or I try to give them the vocabulary in order to understand emotions in general.
Just to clock their own feelings and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
breaking generational trauma, Layla.
Yeah, it's wild. And Cody and I, we'll bicker in front of them, unfortunately, sometimes, like little bickers. And we'll apologize behind closed doors to each other, love on each other, and then go about, you know. But what we do now, the last couple of years, is we will make amends to each other all over again in front of them. Not to make us, you know, a whole spectacle to be like, okay, kids, sit down, let's watch the show. But I'll be like, you know what, Daddy, I was really rude to you earlier, and I'm really sorry, and I'm gonna do better next time. And,
that's incredible.
And then we hug each other, give each other a kiss, and be like, I love you too.
Accountability, constructively resolving conflict. You're teaching them the skills that they're learning as a kid. They're very malleable, especially at the age that your kids are right now.
Oh God, and they hear everything. They're on the other side of the house, and I'm like whispering gossip to someone, and they're just like, who broke up with who? I'm like, oh my God, y'all are crazy.
The tea, they always need the tea. Yeah. Oh my God. Alrighty, so wise Layla, we have some audience fan questions that I'm going to throw out there. This is one of mine that's my favorite because people ask me this all the time. I really want my girlfriend to try a finger in me, but I'm afraid to ask. How do I start that conversation?
See, I'm always so curious about people that are afraid to ask for what they want in bed, because like, why?
Well, this is very particular with like masculinity, right? It was just like something similar where it's like, there's a Playboy article that just came out about this, where it's just like guys who get pegged are afraid to talk about it because it feels like the stigma around it, or it's like they feel like it's gay, or it's not. I'm like, guys, that's where your G-spot is.
Literally.
If those of you who are people like want to make us come, this is an extreme way to make you come too. Have you ever done it? Have you ever hit the prostate as you're going down on a guy?
Yeah. Well, I'll use my fingers.
Yeah.
And then I'll do that.
Yeah.
My favorite is guys that are like, no, no. And I'm like, I brought gloves if that makes you feel more comfortable.
Do you think that's what it is?
I don't know.
Do you think they're like nervous about that, or?
Maybe some happen. They're just like, what if I like shit on you? I'm like, that's where poop comes out. It might happen, but also like
shit happens.
Shit happens. So sometimes if I offer gloves, they're more comfortable with it.
Interesting.
And lots of lube. And I'll do like one finger first. And usually they're like, oh, I don't like it. But if I give them a blowjob while I'm inserting and then like pressing the G-spot, it's the hardest they've ever come. And they're like, I can't do it any other way now.
So how do they go about asking their partner?
I mean, I was be like, just ask them. And also if your partner's going to be like judgmental about it, then like, I don't know how, you could always be like, you could just lie. Like, I saw a TikTok talking about like a G-spot in my ass. And like, I don't know,
what would happen if we went about finding it?
Right. Just like come at it from a place maybe out of curiosity than like, I want to do this. Can we do it? Be like, oh, have you ever, maybe ask her first. Like, are there any desires that you have that we haven't explored yet? And then naturally she's going to be like, what about you? Be like, oh, well, I saw this video about like, I don't know, whatever. Just like be nonchalant about it.
A little bit nonchalant and casual.
Yeah.
I feel like I'd go the vulnerable route. At least that's what I assimilate to, or I think I appreciate when people are. They're like, hey, And I want to ask you something that I was a little bit nervous about, but like wanted to see if you're open to it. Shoot my shot. Don't know if it'll work out, but like I've been considering kind of exploring this, and I, love for you to be a part of it. I feel like, especially if it's your partner, we want so much to fill each other's fantasies. And so I feel like if you kind of just open up about it and start from there. Again, if the partner's super opposed to it,
Right.
then like interesting for your partner choice, whatever it is.
Yeah, I have to be like, get a new partner, but I stop myself.
Yeah.
But I love that, like coming from a place of vulnerability, because like, but some people really like have a hard time getting vulnerable with their partners. Like I've talked to plenty of couples that, especially that aren't lifestyle, and I'll be like, these are the things my husband and I talk about. And they're like, oh my God, I could never talk to my partner about that. I'm like, I have friends that have been together for like 10 years and then literally never even farted in front of their partner.
Wow.
Grow
I
up.
like that that's your grow up.
Grow up, y'all. But vulnerability is hot.
It is. Especially like, at least for me, like I like what is it, fairy fuck mother, or like the kink fairy, where it's just like if someone tells me their fantasy, I'm like, I want to make it come true.
Yes.
I want to make it come true.
Same.
I feel like that's usually the case with your partner. If someone is just like, hey, I'd love to explore this and I would love for you to be the first, I'm like, cherry popping.
I love being a first of anything.
Yeah.
You and I are, again, very similar in that way too. And I'll ask people at parties, especially if they're kind of newbies, I'm like, is there anything that you are excited to like try or to explore? And they're like, I don't know, maybe having like, and it's always like something so cute and like tame for us.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, if like 2 girls like licked my dick.
Yeah, every time. You're just like, we could do that in 10 seconds right now. What
I'm like,
else?
Vanessa,
give
over
us
here.
a challenge. Give us a challenge. Come on, what is this? Like, when you butt stuff?
Let me fist you. Like,
Oh my God, I've done that before.
you fisted a guy?
I fisted a guy in the ass. Amazing.
Was it his first time getting fisted?
Oh, probably not. No, I don't think so. I've done, I've topped for him many, many, many times. He's the only one who could like take my strap like really, really well. And then I remember one time I was at a party and he like did it like it was a surprise. He was like, I have a surprise for you. And he like guides my hand in, and I was like, oh my God.
So do you have to like go like
Yeah. You
this?
kind of like ease it. It's funny that they call it fisting. You're not just barging in there. There's like a technique where you kind of just like really slowly kind of like massage it.
And
in,
then do you
and
like
then you
fist?
can like, he was stretched enough to be able to put a fist once I was inside.
Are you like grabbing organs? Says the person who read a book on human anatomy.
For painting purposes.
Does it feel?
That's the next project, Vanessa fisting somebody.
Is it squishy in there?
Self-portrait fisting. It was really nice and soft. He knows how to take care of himself down there. Okay, so to answer that question, how to ask your partner, you can go the vulnerable route. Chances are she's going to want to help fulfill you. You can go the casual route, send articles, be like, hey, been reading a little bit about this, curious about it, maybe a little bit nonchalant, so it feels more, base it on the vibe that you have with your partner. But either one of those would be really good options.
Yes.
As a cuck, are there any specific parts as you're cucking that turn you on the most? Is it the foreplay? Is it when they look back at you? Do you like being ignored entirely?
I have so many different vibes when it comes to cucking. Like I will fall under all types of vibes. It just depends. Like sometimes I like to imagine that my husband is fucking somebody and it's like it's like he's like, he enters them and he goes, oh, finally, like a good pussy. Like also I'll kind of like degrade myself in my head, which is kind of fun. And also when my partners are having sex with me, I don't see them usually unless it's like missionary. But like to be able to watch my partners with someone else and like the positions. And also I'm like, that girl is so lucky. And I like that. And also it's like, I know that feels good, babe. And he's going home with me.
Yeah.
So it depends on the vibes, but jealousy has always turned me on. Like for as long as I can remember. Like in high school, I had a high school sweetheart. We dated for like 6 years or something. And same kind of thing where I'm like, tell me about the one other person you had sex with before me when you were 14, And I just like would create scenarios in my head. And I was really kind of embarrassed about that for a very long time until again, I entered lifestyle and I was like, oh, this is a thing.
It's such a normal thing. And I love how open you are about it because I feel like there's a lot of guys who I've met recently who have cuck fantasies and they don't necessarily talk about it too much because they feel like they'll be judged for it.
Yeah. Why do you like what? Because I really don't think I think like normal people, but what do you think Like, why? Why do you think guys are scared of being a cuck?
When I've asked them, I think it's like they're to have concern over like inadequacy, or they think that other people will think that they're inadequate. And in some cases, like with one person that I know, right, they're not quite like the biggest or have the best stamina. And so it's kind of a form of like excitement for them because they know they can, they're involved. And that's something that turns them on. But the other ones that I know of, it's like the perfect performance if they wanted to. But there's just like this psychological aspect, kind of similar to you, where it's like it turns them on. But I think that they think people will think that they can't perform it or they're not as masculine enough or whatever. It's always such a mental ego kind of game where I don't even think people would actually feel that way, at least not in this community. So it's just like, we're in our own head.
Yeah. Nothing is real.
Yeah. Okay.
Nothing is real.
So major cuck. And I feel like, again, most of the listeners know because you've talked about that a lot. Is there anything else in there that's like a major turn on?
A major turn on. Honestly, the bare minimum is so hot. You know, like if a guy just shows interest and asks me questions about myself and it's like a genuine curiosity, I'm wet. You know, if they open the door for me or they like literally the bare minimum, I'm like soulmates.
Soulmates. Let's get married. I get that.
Yeah.
I have a lover now who like send flowers like every other week, or like sometimes he'll just send me like an outfit. He's like, this looks really pretty. I feel like a little pretty on you. And I'm just like,
I love gifts. Like that is definitely one of my love languages. And it doesn't have to be anything fancy. It could like my
just
husband
the
has
thought.
He's literally come home with a rock that's like the shape of a heart. And he's like, I thought of you. And I'm like, like I just like being thought of.
Yeah.
That's it.
I feel like that's really the kind of the underlying kink in that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. I love, okay, here's another one. I love doming men that some may consider like has a toxic masculinity. Nothing turns me on more than a guy who thinks he's better than everybody on his knees. Nothing. Because I'm like, oh, like you think you're a big bad boy. Like
so
now you're in a cage. What do you do?
You used to want Brian in a cage.
I know.
So bad.
Brian won't go in a cage, man. I know. We're like too close because like he's considered getting domed by other women, and I know he's played with you in that way too, in those ways too. But I think that like we're too close to have a dynamic like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would like to explore more of that because that turns me on.
Well, Layla, thank you so much for unmasking and being super vulnerable and allowing me to be the host of the Unmasked Project.
Thank you so much for like offering. I was like, do you want to come on and just shoot the shit? And she was like, it's time for me to talk to you about.
I was like, let's unmask you. I want to catch up, see where you're at, see how things are going, and I've learned a ton about you, and I love the connection that we've been able to have here today. So
thank you so much. I absolutely adore you. Please plug yourself.
Yeah, so I'm the Frisky Flirt, Frisky Flirt official on Instagram now. Instagram kicked down my last one.
Boo.
But anything that you want to learn from lifestyle specific, similar, more in the 0 to 1 realm, how do you enter it? Any questions that you might have, I'm a super open book on there. And Layla, the Unmasked Project, in development, getting deeper. So her social media is popping off. She's doing really, really well on there. So if you have any questions that are relative to anything that we've talked about, we didn't actually get to answer a couple of the additional questions.
I know, you have to come back on.
The fans ask, have to come on.
Yeah, no, I'm my favorite topic. I love talking about myself. So we'll
luckily you have gone through enough trauma for everybody to have something relatable for all of the listeners. Right? So until next time, try something or someone new.